What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Waiver Wire edition of this week's podcast. And Josh and I are
Hello.
We went into this thinking there were not very many waivers to talk about this week, but now we realize there's actually some decent, solid
Week
options.
10's got some good, solid waiver wire pickups for all of your fantasy team needs. There's a few teams on bye this week, so if you're looking for some fillers and also some potential sleepers for the rest of the year, we've got you all set. So you want to lead us off here? Who's the first on your list over there?
The one that I'm actually most excited about is a guy named Rhamondre Stevenson.
Yep.
I really, really like this guy. Okay. He, of course, was incredibly productive, against the Panthers, right? 10 carries, 62 yards, 2 catches, right? But 44 yards. Like, he looks, his hands are soft. He looks extremely comfortable and coordinated when he's catching the football. So it's more about, not necessarily the volume, again, just 2 targets, 2 catches, but it's just the way in which it's happening. And then we saw it even a few weeks before against Dallas, I think it was, right, where he had that long catch and run. And he's clearly becoming more and more of an option. Snap percentage isn't there yet. And I think that the best part about that is it'll keep his price tag low, at least for now. I don't think someone's going to use a crazy waiver position or a bunch of fab on Rhamondre Stevenson this week. But I do think that he could significantly outperform. Like right now in sleeper leagues, he's only rostered in 15%, so he might be one of those guys that we're a week early on. I mean, I would use a waiver on him because I think somebody's going to want, if you're in a competitive league especially, I think somebody's going to try and grab him. But I just have a really strong conviction on his talent. I liked him before the draft, and I especially like him in New England, a team that's committed to the run. Brandon Bolden has been getting touches, right? That's not going to continue, in my opinion. It's going to be the Rhamondre Stevenson, Damian Harris show. And I think that if Rhamondre continues to look like the more dynamic back, at least as a pass catcher, he's going to be, he's going to be the Kareem Hunt to Damian Harris, Nick Chubb, and there's a chance in this scenario that he surpasses Damian Harris, in my opinion. That's the upside that you're looking at.
Yeah, he's gone over 12 fantasy points in 2 of his last 3. Granted, he does have a healthy scratch in between there. But I don't think you can quite trust him yet, but obviously if he possesses a lot of upside, he's definitely carving out more of a role here later on in the season. And, of course, if Damian Harris misses any time, I mean, you got to roll with him.
Oh, by the way, let me expand on that. If Damian Harris misses any time, he's a high end RB2.
Yeah,
I mean mid-range at worst.
I agree with that 100%.
So yeah, it's now. We got to get him now. Okay, guys. Elijah Moore is the obvious second one, right? He's been going crazy. I mentioned him last week, and my dumbass sat there and told you guys that Jamison Crowder was probably the safer option. I think is the higher floor option. In this case, when you're talking about a guy that in last week's episode, at that point in time, you weren't even going to have to use your waiver position on him or any money. That's when you go with ceiling, and that's where I fucked up, and I'm going to learn from that mistake. So I should have said that, but I did tell you to get him last week for free because it might be a week early, and turns out we're a week early. He's had 6 targets in each of the last 3 games, and of course, last 2 weeks, week 8, 6 catches for 67 yards, good game, right? And then in this past week against the Colts, he had 7 for 84 and 2 touchdowns. So
yeah, I mean, he finished the week as the top scoring wide receiver in fantasy football for week 9. He's still available in nearly 85% of leagues. He's definitely worth going to get and grab.
That's crazy because in Sleeper, he's rostered in 41%. So I guess Sleeper leagues are more
competitive, maybe?
Well, I think that it's because there's an extra flex spot naturally is how the default comes. So maybe that's why. I don't know. But point is, he is now, you're going to, unfortunately, and I hate doing this, you're going to have to pay full price if you didn't get him last week. So I think that he might be worth it, though. I think there's a chance this kid could be the leading Jets receiver the rest of the season, and I think that with what we're seeing, at least even from the third string quarterback throwing for 300, we've seen the second stringer throw for 400, the third stringer throw for 300 with the Jets, and now Zach Wilson will probably come back anytime. So you're looking at what I'm getting at is their offense is getting better, right? They're getting more comfortable with what's going on, and they're starting to produce. He's a big reason for that. I think he could be a really, really important addition to your fantasy team. So I would spend on him if I have to.
Guy I got on my list, Tim Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed out against the Cowboys, 4 for 85, 1 touchdown, 18.5 fantasy points. He's consistent. Yeah. He is consistent. I mean, he scored over at least 12 fantasy points in 6 of the 9 games so far this season. He's a good pickup for this week. Going in, if you're heading in, like I said, there's four teams on bye this week. So if you need maybe be a filler, Patrick is definitely one of the first guys you need to be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, he's only owned in 30% of sleeper leagues, 25% of Yahoo leagues, so he's available. 149 yards over the last 2 games, burnt Trayvon Diggs on that long touchdown catch against Dallas this past week. So I think he's becoming a matchup-based flex option. Like you said, if you got some guys on bye, if you're hit hard by the bye week, I mean, I don't think he's a bad option. I wouldn't look. His upside is always going to be limited to a degree because I don't know where he ranks in the pecking order of Sutton, Judy, Patrick, in terms of but I do think that he will have his weeks, right, where he's going to do what he did last week. I just don't think that he's going to be ever a super high volume guy, but he's not used in a way where that's necessarily a negative. He's like a poor man's Kenny Golladay.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's definitely a good person to fill in your flex if you feel like you might need him on a week-to-week basis.
Let's talk about Eno Benjamin, because I know there's going to be. I haven't seen this yet, but I'm already anticipating there's going to be some takes regarding Eno Benjamin and like what they think he's going to do from the. Look, does he need to be owned? Yes, he does. Do you need to spend a waiver position on him? Maybe, but I think that his value is more contingent upon Chase Edmonds returning or an injury to James Conner, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, by the way. But knock on wood for James. But the point is, I think that he's got value, but I do, as I mentioned in the reaction to Week 9 podcast, I think that Eno is going to be more of a, while Edmonds is out, a 30% of the workload guy for the Cardinals. I think it'll be a heavy, heavy dose of James Conner because he's just a much better football player right now and much more trusted by the coaching staff. But I was impressed with what Eno did, 9 for 39 in the touchdown. It was a very violent touchdown run. I liked it. I liked what I saw from him, and I think there's definitely, some upside there to him. I just think that in all likelihood, you're going to need more injuries to the backfield for him to really have value. So if you have to spend anything significant on him, I wouldn't do it. If you're talking about picking him up for free after waivers finish, I'm all for that.
Especially if Chase Edmonds is out a few weeks, and he's definitely a good pickup to go after.
Who else you got, Josh?
What about Cole Kmet?
Yes. And we just watched the end of that Bears-Steelers game. Cole Kmet finished that game with 6 receptions for 87 yards on 7 targets, okay? So that's the good news in terms of his, right now production. He was also the guy when Fields had to push the ball down the field to go out there and potentially kick the game-winning field goal, which
that was his go-to guy.
Yeah, he threw it to him both times.
Yeah.
Or 2 of the 3. And so Fields in his own right is improving. Kmet, we've been talking about intent, right? He's a better player than Jimmy Graham today. He is. And Jimmy Graham did a good job of proving that earlier with his the way he attacks the football as Louis Riddick so candidly pointed out. But the point is, Cole Kmet, it was always coming. Now I think he's showing you what he's going to be moving forward. And I'm not saying he's going to be this every week, but I think he's showing you what he might be. And you may be a week early because I don't think this is going to be if he would have scored a touchdown dramatically at the end of the game, then people would have been spending their asses off on him.
Yeah.
But I think that you might be able to get him for very little or even free.
Yeah. I mean, definitely get him for free. I don't even think you would have to use a waiver on him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely an intriguing pickup.
For sure. Let's see here. Two guys that I'm not super convinced on are the Falcons receiver, the one that Zacchaeus. They caught 2 touchdowns on 3 receptions. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones. They're going to be lower volume guys, in my opinion. But I am, as far as Falcons receivers go, interested in Russell Gage, who had 7 catches for 64 yards.
Yeah.
I think that with Ridley out, Gage is the top guy there.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and then obviously Zacchaeus is definitely going to see more of the target share with Calvin being out. And like you said, with Peoples-Jones too, thank God. I'm so happy for Browns fans. You finally got rid of the cancer Odell. But yeah, with him out, I think Peoples-Jones is going to get more of the target share here, and he's definitely an intriguing pickup.
Matchup based flex
forward.
Option, I think, is what you'll get from Peoples-Jones. Maybe a DFS value some weeks, like he would have been a huge one this week, of course. I think that's kind of like what you're looking. I mean, look, he's had in his last 3 games. So he had those 2 good games, right? Then he had the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
He missed a couple games, Denver and Pittsburgh games to be exact. But in his last 3 games that he's played, 70 yards, 101 yards, 86 yards.
Yeah. I mean, he's not
3 touchdowns in that time.
He's not a safe floor, but he definitely has. Yeah. He's definitely their best deep threat option, and he's gonna, like I said, he's gonna see increased playing time with OBJ packed and shipped out of town.
I'm actually more bullish on him now that I totally forgot that I was high on him a few weeks ago. I think we did a waiver episode, and then he got hurt before the Denver game or whatever, or maybe early Denver game, whatever. But he's been showing us what he is or what he can be. And now with Odell just completely out of the picture, I think there's a real chance that this guy can be a really reliable flex play for you. He's definitely, again, like I agree with you, say low floor, but he's definitely got some upside, right? It's not wide receiver 1 upside, but it's like high-end flex play upside, or maybe even low-end wide receiver 2 at the best. So
yeah. Another guy that we've brushed up on I feel like the last 2 weeks on waiver wire pickups is my guy Rashod Bateman. Obviously, he is 3rd in the pecking order behind Andrews and Hollywood Brown, but he brings a ton of upside. He has a strong red zone presence. He's top double digits in 2 straight. He's got, clearly shows that he's got a pretty good safe floor. I mean, and he's only going to grow in the offense as the season goes on.
Like his first 3 games of his career, he's seen 6 targets, and then this week 8 targets. So snap percentage has been anywhere from 63% is the lowest and 66% is the highest. So, and he's still only owned in 36% of leagues, of Yahoo leagues at least. So it's like we have to mention him because he's out there.
Yeah, he's definitely growing. Yahoo, especially. I don't think you can trust him right now I wouldn't chart him out there every week. Yeah, but definitely a trading pickup.
Yeah. I also want to talk about Dan Arnold. I think that only owned in 27% of Yahoo leagues, the guy has been targeted in his last 2 games, and he just became a Jaguar. Remember that. Last 2 games, 17 targets. He's caught 128 yards combined in those 2 games. So, again, 27% owned. He's got to be owned because I think that there's a decent chance that him and Cole Kmet are top 10 tight ends the rest of the season. I really believe
they're both seeing consistent volume.
I think that's not only is that possible, but I think it's likely that Kmet and Dan Arnold are top 10 tight ends the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, if Justin Fields starts to play a little better, and
which he
has
did against Pittsburgh tonight, apparently. So, all right.
Who else you got on your list?
Van Jefferson.
Yeah, I like him.
I mean, he's 43% owned, so he's a little bit more, popular, I guess you could say. But in his last 3 games, 7 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets, so 20 targets in 3 games, right? He saw 7 last night against Titans in a bad night for the Rams offense, but there will be better nights for the Rams offense. Deshaun Jackson is no longer there. And so Van, to me, we've seen this system support 3 receivers in fantasy before, and he's really becoming a good professional and a reliable player. So I think
it's a high-powered offense. I think he's carving out a pretty consistent role, especially with, like you said, D-Jack's out. Yeah. Another guy I want to brush on real quick is a lot of guys. This is the same thing we go back with Brandon Ayuk. A lot of guys drafted him high this year, and
only 61% of Yahoo.
Yeah, so if he's out there, you have to go pick him up. he looked like a superstar last year, towards the end of last year. But he's definitely struggled to stay consistent. But he went off this week. I mean, 8 targets, 6 for 89 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
He did lose a fumble in this one, but
and that didn't kill him. That was the best part to
Yeah.
me. That was the most encouraging part. Shanahan didn't say, "All right, you're out for the game." He just went back to him.
yeah, and Trey Lance could potentially play next week, so who knows?
Yeah.
There's a lot of upside there.
Let's see. Someone I'm kind of interested in, low key, is Nyheim Hines. Right, there were a lot of people, believe it or not. Twitter's got the receipt. Just search it on Twitter. That were saying Nyheim Hines in like whatever his ADP was, 11th round, is a better value than Jonathan Taylor in the first round.
Yeah,
I was not one of those people, but I think that there's room for both to eat. And the reason I feel that way is because Nyheim Hines, first of all, he's only owned in 53% of Yahoo leagues. He's been targeted. The targets were disappointing earlier on, right? But he's been targeted 11 times over the last 2 games. He had 108 yards from scrimmage last week against the Jets. And I just think that even with him only getting 35% of the snaps, they're going to be snaps where he's likely to at least get targeted, if not touch the football. And, I think it's not like when you look at that offense, right? They don't have a plethora of wide receivers and guys to throw the football to. So I think he's an important option in that regard. And because we didn't see a bunch of targets early, we're more likely to see a bunch of targets late. This guy can catch, 70, 80 passes.
yeah. I mean, he's definitely a low floor, but he's got a high ceiling.
I think his floor is going to improve because I think he's going to start catching a lot more consistently.
Yeah, I mean, Marlon Mack was a healthy scratch in this one, so that's definitely a positive going forward for Nyheim Hines.
I mean, I think Marlon wanting a trade, and now the trade deadline passing shows you that they're just going to shelf him, and if they need him, then God forbid something happens to one of these guys, that Mack will come in and play a little bit. But I think they're pretty much just like, yeah, you didn't want to be here, you're gonna just sit tight, and I think they were starting to use him for a minute there because they were trying to build some trade value for him, hoping he popped a big run or something.
Mm-hmm.
It never came to reality. So, believe me, no one was interested in trading for Marlon Mack, or else they would have done it. Anyways, 2 quarterbacks. I think that we should be.
Yeah,
we should own.
I was literally about to speak on that.
Yeah.
A good streamer this week is Matt Ryan.
I agree, man. 56% owned in Yahoo leagues. He has had 21 or more points. You gave me this stat a minute ago. 21 or more points in 3 of the last 5 games. He is playing really good football.
Yeah, he is.
Just aside from fantasy, he's playing, in the last, other than that Panther game, right, he's been really good lately. And so I think that Matt Ryan is a guy that's likely available. Yeah. And if your quarterback's on bye week or whatever,
he's definitely a good streaming option, especially next week against the Cowboys. So,
right.
Obviously, I think they're going to be coming back from behind, but because not if the Cowboys play like shit like they did last week.
Dude.
But yeah, he's definitely a good streaming option if you need a quarterback.
Yeah, check this out. So the last 5 games, Matt Ryan is averaging 290 pass yards a game. He's thrown 11 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. Okay, and that's even with the clunker against the Panthers, right, where he had 146 yards and 2 picks. So if you just even if I go back over the last 6 games, he has 3 interceptions, right? 2 of them were against the Panthers. So, in all reality, the dude's been awesome from week 3 on. He's been really good, right? Completing 70% of his passes 1, 2, 3, 4 times in the last 6 games. So again, and basically averaging 300 yards a game. So I'm kind of bullish on him to be a potential QB1 the rest of the way. Now, is he good for that clunker of a game?
Yes.
Yeah, it'll happen every now and then, unfortunately, right? But you're getting him for free. No, you're not going to spend a penny on him. You're not going to use a waiver position on him, obviously. You're just going to get him for free. Now,
right.
Another quarterback that we just saw play well, apparently, I go back and watch it again, but Justin Fields, only owned in 26% of leagues, it seems like, in Yahoo leagues at least. It seems like everybody kind of gave up on him.
He had over 300 yards tonight, 17 for 29, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He also had 8 carries for 45.
That's in Pittsburgh, by the way, against a good Steeler defense. So,
Yes, they almost came back and won this game.
yeah, he had big splash pass plays. One to Kmet, one to Marquise Goodwin or Goodwin, I think his name is, and the fast guy, and
The hook 'em horns guy.
yes,
Yes,
the track and field guy. Anyways,
the Olympic runner.
yeah. So Justin Fields to me is someone that, like, if you aren't satisfied with your quarterback position, right? If you're just one of those guys that waited late, maybe you drafted Darnold late or whatever, you're not. I think Justin Fields is important for you. If you have a Stafford, a Brady, one of the top guys, then I wouldn't spend anything on him. If you can get him for free, then I think you should still roster him. I think he absolutely has to be owned now, because if he does this again next week, you're going to be looking at the top waiver, one of the top guys. So I think getting him a week early is always important. And Justin Fields, to me, that was an impressive performance. If you're just looking at the few plays that I saw and just what he did statistically, I like him moving forward, at least from a fantasy standpoint, because I think they're going to keep running him and they're going to do so more.
Yeah. Another streamer I have this week is Devin Singletary. He played in 71% of the snaps after Moss left with a concussion. He's got
what's he owned in?
I'm not sure, but he's got a great streaming option next week against the Jets. Obviously, if the Bills play like shit.
Yeah, if they decide to throw the ball. Well, he's owned in 64% of Yahoo leagues, so he might be available, but
yeah, but if you have him, he's a good quality streamer this week.
Yep, I agree. I mean, he's gonna, if anything, at least he'll catch he'll be the guy that catches.
Definitely
the passes.
in PPR leagues for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Anybody else?
One guy I want to mention is Kenyon Drake. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's seeing more.
He's the pass catcher.
Yeah, I mean, he's seeing more opportunity here. He played in 46% of the snaps. He only saw 4 carries for 30 yards, but he did see a huge pass game usage.
Yep.
So, I mean, 8 targets, 6 catches for 70. I mean, he's definitely weekly flex consideration.
I mean,
going forward, he definitely could see a heavy workload if Jacobs misses any time. So another intriguing streaming option and waiver wire pickup in Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, I agree. And what did Bryan Edwards do this week against the Giants? Oh, my God. He had 4 targets, 0 catches. Wow.
Yeah, not good.
So, yeah, I mean, oh, wait. Jordan Howard. Okay, look, I'm not going to tell you to go crazy about Jordan Howard, but I will tell you this. As long as Miles Sanders is out, Jordan Howard is very fantasy relevant. He's only owned in 14% of Yahoo leagues somehow. This guy, over the last 2 weeks, has 30 fantasy points in our league, at least, which is basically, just standard scoring for the most part. 12 carries, 57 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Lions, and then he came back against the Chargers, had 17 for 71 on the touchdown.
Yeah, so definitely. He talking about streaming option next week. He's definitely a streaming option against the Broncos. So.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The Broncos are a solid defense, but I don't care. You're still with the volume he's getting, you gotta.
Yeah, like you said, with Miles Sanders out, you're starting Jordan Howard until he's back.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a legit, almost a must start.
Yeah.
Until Miles Sanders returns. So I'm really hoping that this isn't just a fluke, right? In that Nick Sirianni's actually getting them and getting his run game cranked up and making it the point of emphasis of the team's identity on the offense side of the ball. But I hope it's not a fluke. I don't think it's a fluke because this is what I expected all along. It just took them about 2 months or so to get there. But hey, it is what it is. And I think that's going to be it, right?
Yeah, pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah. Oh, wait, one last thing. This is important. Do not, under any circumstances, drop Chuba Hubbard. Don't do it. I love Christian McCaffrey, right? But what has he shown us the last 2 years? And this breaks my heart to say it, okay? Don't drop him. And if somebody does drop Chuba, because McCaffrey came, he had 108 yards or whatever from scrimmage, Chuba barely was involved in the run game, whatever. I get all that. If someone drops Chuba Hubbard in your league, you go pick him up immediately and you keep him on your roster. Because if anything happens to CMC, God forbid, knock on wood, all that. If anything happens, Chuba's already showed us he's a legit RB2. You know what I mean? Like it,
for sure.
And we're not talking about a guy that's never had an injury before. We're looking at Christian McCaffrey that's had multiple injuries in the last 2 years, missed plenty of games, you know. I mean, he's missed half this season already. So, yeah, don't drop him if you have him, and if somebody else drops him, you better scoop him. So, anyways, I think that's it.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up here. Be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we will be back later this week for a Week 10 preview. But as always, we'll catch you in the next one.
Later, guys.
Later, guys.